the Gigabyte x570i Aorus Pro Wi-Fi. I'm gonna get this motherboard unboxed, talk a little bit about it, get it installed on my test bench because I need to not only test out the motherboard, I have to test out the memory, the processor, 2 NVMe solid state drives, and the CPU cooler. All the parts will be listed in the description below.
Wow, this thing has some heft to it. Alright, so you have your 6 phases of V-core. You have your SoC VRM that's 2 phases. You have the 8-phase voltage controller. And you have your basic stuff. You have your CPU socket, your DIMM slots, 24-pin, front I/O, SATA ports, USB 3.0, USB 2.0. You have your PCIe 4.0 x16 slot for your graphics cards. You have your PCIe 4.0 M.2 slot behind the chipset fan. You also have on the back a back plate, and this motherboard has some decent heft to it. You could definitely feel the quality of this motherboard. On the back you have your M.2 slot. On the side you have your various input-output. Your audio right here. You have your Wi-Fi, which is Wi-Fi 6. Your LAN, the various different speeds of USB. You have USB Type-C. You have your display port and HDMI ports, which are only going to be accessible on a processor that has integrated graphics. Q flash button.
Now that the motherboard's unboxed, I'm gonna get it placed onto my test bench and test out all the internal components. I'd like to make sure they work before my build video. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.
Here are the rest of the components I'm going to be using. To the left, we have the 32 gigabyte Samsung B-Die kit of G.Skill Trident Z Neo memory. We have a Ryzen R7 3700X, a CryoRig M9A, Samsung 970 EVO, NVMe M.2, and we have an Intel 660p 1 terabyte. Okay, now we're ready for the test fire. I'm gonna flip the switch on the power supply. And the power switch is right next to the memory modules. Here we go. We have liftoff. And do we get a post? And we got a post. Few things I want to check right off the bat. First one being, are all the memory modules being registered by the motherboard? I see both of them right here, which is good. The next thing is going to be the NVMe drives. Both of them are being registered by the motherboard right here. The next thing I'm going to check is the BIOS version. I'm going to be updating the BIOS, then running the motherboard in AXMP to make sure that the G.Skill memory modules can run at the rated speed of 3600 megahertz. Alright, so we're now on the latest BIOS. We're running at 3600 megahertz. Everything's checking in. We are good to load the operating system.
Now that all the internal components have been tested, I'm pretty much clear to do the build video. Make sure to comment below. Let me know what graphics card you'd like to see in that build video.